second.
Right. Thank you. Yes, I want to do a check-in of bringing into the space transformational doorways that we have experienced in this past week in ourselves, that we have created for other people, or that we have witnessed in other spaces towards the next culture that we're wanting to create.
I'll start. I am out of a gathering that Nicole, Meredith, and I and some other people organized called Lighting the Edge. And uh, it would not fall into any category that I would call that some parts of my box would call transformation. And at the same time, the more I digest it, the more it was clear to me that it was completely transformative, because there's this energy in our space as a group, all of the participants. So there were like 18 of us that came together, and there's just this crackle of excitement about continuing to create and continuing to roll the space forward, and having some sort of uh, community of people around the United States, maybe around the world, that will gather for gatherings. And basically what happened was we had a lot of firewood that came into one location, and I'm not sure who lit the match, but then we just ended up with this big fire of all sorts of creation, all sorts of really brilliant creation, and total space for people to make proposals and create spaces for what they wanted. And yeah, and my experience is just that there's this not just like a personal level bright principles flowing into the space, but that as a group, as 18 people, we were able to connect to this source. And I can feel it even right now. It's like in our Telegram group for that gathering, it's like there's this thing trying to move through the space. And it actually got me so enlivened for the Bridge House project, seeing how we feel like all of the lead up and all of the planning. There's like this thing of like, we're not really sure how this is going to go. We have no idea there is no plan, but we don't even know anything about this. We didn't even have enough food for the gathering, and people had to run and get more food, and none of that mattered. And um, what mattered was the people who came were ready to build community, people who came were ready to offer things, the people who came were ready to experience things. And that's what came through. And now we're ready for more, and now we're hungry for more. And yeah, it's like there's so much creative ideas flowing through right now, and desire to be and create more. And it was the type of thing where people were coming up to me at the end and just saying like, how do I be on the team for next year? How do we do something like even before next year? How do we go to Burning Man this year? And like, how do we have these cards that we pass out to people to tell them about this collection of people that are coming together and making these gatherings happen? So that's my check-in.
Thank you, Dawe.
Thank you, Dawe.
Thank you.
Hello, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hello. Thank you, Dawe, for fishing for me on. I didn't have this in my calendar somehow.
Nicole, we're doing a check-in round of transformational doorways that we've experienced this last week within us, or that we have seen in the spaces we've been.
Cool. Thank you.
I'd like to go next because mine is also about this gathering. In the process, I was like clinging to all of these structures and planning. And I got a lot of feedback from Nicole and Dawe about this. And I was very angry. I was really holding on to this. Well, we got to have a plan. What's going to happen? And I was really scared of like going into it without this structure. And finally landing there and feeling this like resonance with everyone. It was like I didn't even care what happened. It didn't matter what was going on with the schedule anymore because I could just feel the community, and I was able to step back and yeah and be a part of the unfolding, and it completely shocked me. Like I really thought I was going to be like battling this desire for control and for holding a schedule the whole time. And yeah, this was one of the biggest moments of transformation at this gathering, was to witness, this is what it can be like. This is how much stronger collaboration is when we're all like, when everyone is taking responsibility for how the space goes. And yeah, it felt magical to experience that full shift. It was, yeah, I'm so excited to like, I'm like, oh, I get it. I get why everyone taking responsibility is so powerful. And like, this is, yeah, I'm like, wow, it landed in me. And I'm so happy to like, to understand it a little bit more.
Thank you, Mary. I have one transformational doorway that came through as a distinction in the lab here in Poland, not here in Poland, here in Brazil, that we just came out of, Dorothea and I. That we don't create the context, we choose the context, which is radical responsibility. And I sense that is what you just shared, Meredith, helped me remember that you choose a context, and then that is the soil in which the content can emerge. That is all.
I love the piece of content and fun. And really understand one.
Are you writing it down, Ingrid? Thank you. Thank you, me
Thank
too.
you, Ingrid.
Okay. I want to invite us to go into breakout rooms, which will be 4 and
Wait,
3.
I
Yes,
have one first.
go. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't
Before you go, Nicole, can I ask Maria, how come you wanted to move us before other people checked in?
How come I wanted to move us?
Yeah, to something else without everyone checking in.
I sensed there was no more checking ins.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. Okay, there are more.
Do you notice that means you made an assumption?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll actually share why I asked. I just sensed that you started panicking or something, and then wanted to move us. So yeah, I wanted to check if you needed to just slow down.
Yes, thank you. I feel fear of empty, and so I wanted to feel that empty. Thank you for bringing me back to here.
Thank you.
More doorways. I want to share about this, what I discovered staying with my friend Kalita yesterday. She doesn't use possibility management. She's heard a little bit from me. And there's something about this doorway that was using completely new language to describe distinctions that I have. And it was, I discovered I had this distinction I didn't know I had, which was that, and it builds off of the distinction that we live in all three worlds at once. Like we're inhabiting three worlds at a time. And it's like, and then I was also bringing stuff about the distinction of having five bodies. And I suddenly all came together in this thing I heard myself say, which was, it was like, wow, I live in an intersection of worlds and of bodies. And it was like this intersection of bodies was right here, and the intersection of worlds was almost like gave me this interface with reality. And then there's also a doorway happening for me in a new experiment I'm doing, which is about it is about this slowing down thing, and slowing down so that I can be with and catch the impulses that come from Gaia and that come from my archetypal lineage as this intersection, also this intersection of being of the world and of this archetypal realm. And my I'm celebrating because I have the story that not having this call in my calendar and then going on to like really following my impulses this morning and then only being 6 minutes late because Dawei did what he did according to his own impulses. It's like, oh, it's working because I've been so scared to slow down and be left behind, or slow down and then be crazy, or slow down and end up somewhere I didn't mean to go. And it's cool how things are actually still happening quite quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Rico.
Anyone have resistance to me reading that out for the recording?
I I wonder, actually, I was going to ask Ingrid if you would be willing to read it yourself.
Okay, I tried that. Thank you. I witnessed uh, um, no way is my mom. Mom. Mom.
Mm.
Mom.
Thank you, Ingrid. Before someone reads it, I just want to tell you, Ingrid, that somehow even just you taking the space, your what you wrote down can land in me more. I realized just when you type it and then I just look and I read it, it doesn't quite land. And just even hearing you, even if the words aren't really coming out, it matters to me.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll read. I witnessed a doorway within myself by holding space for myself about decision making for the bridge house. I decided not to make a decision, but to let it emerge by opening wide for the impulses, especially of my physical body and also emotional and energetic body. And today the decision emerged.
yeah, I'm not.
Thank you, Ingrid. I feel sad that you're not coming, and I feel glad that Montreal is so close.
Yeah.
And I celebrate your capacity to listen to your physical and emotional and energetic body. I almost feel jealous.
Yeah.
I noticed that I swallowed when somewhere in there, and that told me that my numbness bar was up. And when I lowered it, I started to feel my sadness about you losing your voice, because I love your voice and I want to hear it. And I miss hearing it, and I feel angry and scared and sad to see you struggle to speak. And I feel glad you can type. And that you will type. And I feel glad that we're as a team slowing down around hearing you, hearing your communications. I guess you, in a way, in a new experiment of how to have a voice without having a physical voice so readily. I'm on your team about that. So you're right. I need also to find new ways in Zoom calls. So you're right that it feels like you live in a different speed.
Ingrid, I feel really sad to know that you won't be coming on a lot of our calls. Sometimes I would um, wonder, like, is this going to happen? Is it going to work? What's going on? And we would meet, and I would see you, and you would be there, and just the quality of the space that you would hold on our calls every time would just like reopen me up to the possibility that this is really going to happen. And I just felt like um yeah, you allowed for that to grow in me, and I'm so grateful for the space that you've been holding on these calls. And I'm also so glad to hear your decision, and it, yeah, that you're making it from a place of what you want, and you're listening to yourself. And yeah, I'm very happy for you for that. And I will miss you. And I would love to come and visit. I love that it's only 4 hours away. I can't think of yeah, a better trip than that. So thank you for that invitation.
Thank you for the invitation to visit. I accept. Yeah, I'll write you with some proposals for when.
Yay. Yay.
I'll share one if that's complete. Okay. I over the last couple of months made a decision to at least physically go in a different direction than Vera in terms of where we traveling trainings. And behind that was that I really want to discover my own impulse and to find out what is behind me not doing that, and living more of I've lived like in a way a passive life. And I could say a lot about that, but that's been a part of my shift. And so I've been looking at what do I do next, and had a conversation with Chuckleberry Farm and had a conversation with in Lakesh, where I really connect with and love the people there. And then the last couple of days had this just freak out about how do I make a decision about something? How do I make a decision about where do I go? And I noticed I was going into kind of just something's wrong because I am freaking out and feeling just a lot of fear and unclarity. And I just had something shift in me. I think in a dream or something, because when I woke up a few days ago, I just had this clarity of like, okay, this is what I have been avoiding by finding people who have more clarity about what they want than I do. Is I've been avoiding going into this space where I actually find out what I want and make decisions from there. And I in a way it felt like it seemed like the first decision I've made, but a decision to just knowing all the things I'm afraid about, knowing all the things that I'm joyful about and sad and scared about, deciding to go to in Lakesh and be just fully really there. And anyway, it was something new for me to just to stand in that. That's it for now.
Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin.
Mm.
Mm.
I want to share about a transformational process I had in the lab, which ended yesterday. It was an EHP. Vera was holding space for me for, I mean, I've been at that point in EHPs like, I feel like 100 times. But this was a new way of going back to the 3 days old Dorothea that has been given away from her mother. And at the end, I used the rage stick with a new decision of that not a team has to choose me, but I choose the team I belong to, not others choose where or to whom I belong to, which was a weird moment after this, because there was still in my mind that how can that happen? How can that be? How can I declare my belonging without have the allowance of others if they accept me or not? And so the magic as it is in labs, I had a lot of opportunities to explore and to find things out. And yeah, that was, I mean, I'm still in my research, it's still right fresh. But yeah, there was moments, for example, where I just could say, I will not leave, I stay. As neutral as possible. And even not feeling attacked. And that was really weird, because before I was always in this, she or they or he want to go, that I go away. And I was just so hurt and so in my victim. And I had some situations where this was on the table and I was just not triggered. And that was new. And that was cool, because that gives me new possibilities to act and less to react. And for here in the bridge house, I mean, it's the same. It's still not we don't have the decision yet if I can stay. Even I'm just there for half the time. So I could come from, now I have clarity, I could come from November and stay until the end. And I can say I belong to this group. And whatever you decide, if I'm physically there or I'm not there, I'm at least here in the Zoom call, I'm with you, and I belong to this group.
Mm.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you, Dorothea. Mm. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for bringing your transformational doorways into the space. I want to invite us to go into 2 groups, and I got this understanding in the lab that we are cavitating the space that the culture that we want to create. And my invitation is that, what happened? My invitation is that we write down what is the culture that we're creating. And then that we connect to the fear of creating that culture. Now, and with our team now, to go into the fear and to find what is our edge. How are we creating that culture, and how are we not creating that culture? What are our fears around creating that culture now? And what experiments can we create for ourselves to be on that edge, and for others to go into that edge as well? Was that clear?
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ingrid. Bye-bye.
Can I just say what I'm getting?
Yes.
So we write down for some time what we like, the culture that we want to live in, want to source, want to create, and
Yes.
then explore the fear about actually that's where I stopped. Can you say the last part again?
Yes. And then we explore the fear of being that culture, of creating that culture.
Okay. And we do that through interviewing each other, or also writing it, or
I propose we do that through reading what we write out loud, and then going into the fear in ourselves and letting the fear speak.
thank you, that's clear for me.
How much time is this breakout?
Until half an hour, until 2:15.
And then we're sharing our writing with our breakout room.
Yes.
Okay. So in our breakout room, we decide how much time we use to write and then how much time to share.
Yes.
Okay.
Will you create breakout rooms that way?
Yes. I need a minute to find my notebook.
Okay. Okay. I propose we write for 5 minutes. What is the culture that I want to create?
Are you keeping time?
Yes. Do you have something?
Yes.
Will you share it?
Yes, I can share.
Is that time?
Yes.
Okay.
So So I want to live in a culture where all 5 bodies are alive, used, and trained. We're feeling and expressing and navigating with the 4 feelings. In a culture where
Sorry,
art is a
will
resource.
sorry, will you read it a bit slower, please?
Slower, okay.
Yes.
Continue or start
Start,
again?
please. Yes.
Okay. So in my culture, all 5 bodies are alive, used, and trained. Feeling and expressing and navigating with the 4 feelings is the culture there. Art is a resource of wisdom, community, beauty, and communication. It's a culture of feedback, coaching, and learning without shame, without punishment, but with high level fun. It's a culture where we allow each other to unfold and to unleash our potential. It is a culture of sharing, a culture of serving instead of doing it for money. No work to do, only necessities and passion. Bonding in respect, care, and exchange with the nature. And as a balance of celebration, transformation, connectedness, and creating being also for myself.
Dorothea, will you read the last one? You broke up, I think,
And
because of the
creating
sirens.
the last balance of celebration, transformation, connectedness, and also creating being for myself or for ourselves. And the last is creating, living in a regenerative circle of life. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now you want to hear my fear of living it? Was it that living, the fear of living it?
Yes. What is the fear of creating that culture? And maybe it serves
Of
you to connect
creating.
all of that, or you can pick one of the things you mentioned. And what is the fear of creating that now?
So I would say that a lot of things I already do, so I have experience about my fear, which is that if people don't know this kind of work, for example, with the 4 feelings and 5 bodies, that that I feel fear that I can't deliver it so quickly in especially in the bridge spaces or in modern culture. So there is a big fear to be this change and feeling like a weirdo in the middle of, I don't know, like a green particle in all, for example, doing so weird things for the others. And then to stay centered and just go, that goes along with fear.
Thank
Another
you. What I
fear is
go.
okay. Another fear is that I have not enough knowledge. For example, the last one, the circle of life, which for me includes permaculture, for example, or water catchment, and all this kind of sustaining a life with without companies or without going to a supermarket. And there is a huge fear. I myself have not this knowledge that is needed, not even the passion to do it, to be honest. So I really need a team with that knowledge and people who really love to do that work, so that I can bring my value that is also important for this kind of world. And there is a big fear, or I see that it's so impossible that everything I want to have in my culture, that I can do it by myself, and I need a team and people who are so different from me as well. And how can I get that team? I feel fear that I won't get that team. Or if we are people who commit to each other and we are so different from each other, that we can create a togetherness that it works, even so we are so different, so that the culture, the root of the culture, is enough to um, to create a connection and a togetherness that just works, that works out in our variety of people, of perspectives, of values.
Oh, what is so what is the fear under that? What happens if you don't have the team? What happens if you don't have the permaculture? Why like yeah, what is up with that?
Yeah, so if I don't have that, I feel a lot of force and shame. So for example, now I will go back to Germany for a couple of months, and I know that by stepping in this first world country, how this country works, the resources that I will use only by being there. I use so much more resources than, for example, staying in Mexico.
And then what's the fear of
So
that?
necessary to, or it just, it's not, it's nothing else possible. And if it's nothing else possible, I don't have the decision. So if I'm not doing something else and I don't have the team, then I overuse the planet. And I don't want to overuse the planet. And alone, I just fall back to default, and the default mode in this world right now, it's for my, yeah, for my necessity, unacceptable.
I think we somehow
But
got
alone, I fall into that default mode.
somehow
Yeah.
we got backwards, I think. What is the fear of creating the culture where you're not doing that then?
I tried to do that since 4.5 years, and I'm still not having my land, and I'm still not having my team.
Yeah,
Even
and so
so, I
what's the
try
fear of
hard.
what's the
That
fear
is
of
my
not
biggest fear, to not find them. What?
what is it's not the fear of not finding them, but yeah, what is the fear when you think about finding that team?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
The fear of finding that team. One of my biggest fears is because something that also is very important for me is the artistic part. Because I'm an artist, this is what I am, and I want to have that value in that land, on that, in that space, and I feel fear that a team won't accept that value as a value. Because I have like tons of evidence from Germany, so I'm in my stories, in the story that art doesn't have so much value like permaculture.
What are the next culture bright principles of your art?
Say again.
What are the next culture bright principles of your art?
The bright principle of my art or mine? You ask for mine?
Yes, related to your art.
So it's for sure empowerment for me and for my art. It's authenticity. It's connection, creation. And I don't know if this is bright principle, but it goes along with authenticity, is maybe transparency. And also evolution.
I get the sense you're speaking from known bright principles of yours. Is that true?
From what?
From known bright principles, bright principles you already know from
Yeah.
your. Yeah, I want to ask if you can discover more bright principles that are associated with your art that you want to bring into this space.
So maybe new things.
You broke up there.
So you ask not for my bright principles, but for what this kind of art I deliver can bring. Is this your question?
My main question is, can you discover something in this space? Yeah, the sense I got is you're delivering from something you already know. And I want you to open a connection to your art and to whatever practice you have with your art, whatever relationship you have with your art, the part that you think isn't really as valuable as permaculture or other people think is not as valuable as permaculture. And what is, yeah, what I want to know more about it. What is it?
I still stick to the empowerment. I think there's a lot of empowerment.
But what I mean, Dorte, is I get the sense you're answering from your head right now. Do you get that also, Maria?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking you to just I don't know, speak from your art or locate your being to the context of your art, or locate your being to the context where you're making your art, and just speak from there. What is the value that people are not seeing but that you would want to bring to the space you create, the culture you create?
So now the bright principles, it's just one possibility.
You're still trying to understand it and speak from the mind about it. So
Yeah, I'm confused with the bright principle question you had. But you don't want me just to say bright principle, it's like more than that.
It can be bright principles, but I just ask you to speak what is coming from your art. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the bright principles somehow confuses you, drop it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I still stay with empowerment. That is what I think. It's like the togetherness, the empowerment that people come together, create together, see different perspectives of each other, share, open up. Also in living with together art there to the it's not like the old, let's say the old school art where is the stage and something is said. It's more like really it's a thing that only can happen together with all the people that are in the space, and everyone brings perspective and value and presence, and so these are experiential spaces that allows transformation through beauty and being touched and feeling alive and bringing the numbness bar down and dive into life that is still kind of fake because it's created, but it also has this honesty and authenticity because it's the history we have with that, the thoughts, the memories, the assumptions, the evidence, whatever is all with us, and that is all part of that, and therefore can be transformational.
Okay.
And another part is bring the body in. Yeah, time over.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
I have an experiment for you. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
What I hear is that the culture that you want to inhabit and create welcomes feeling in all the bodies, and training and bringing aliveness to all the bodies. And I noticed you. My experience is that you come from the mind, not always, but the mind is a place that you inhabit. So my experiment for you is to navigate your fear of relying in other bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Does that land?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Dorothea. I got it much more. Yeah, and I heard a lot of like togetherness and co-creation, and yeah, the togetherness as a group really was clear to me.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Dawi, do you want to read yours?
Yes. Yeah, I want to create a culture where people are feeling, where there's where there's communication, where there's sensing where the other person is, and what is the way to open really togetherness in the communication, where there's really freedom to try new things, where we can say what's going on, where there's spaciousness, where there's room to unfold, where there's no pressure, where we do not get into box to box wars, where there's enjoyment and delight. And that's what I wrote down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My invitation is to pick one of those things or all of it, and to navigate yourself into what's the fear of stepping into that, of creating that.
Yeah, I'll already. Gosh, I live in so much old map of joy. I really,
Mm.
especially about some of these things of delight, enjoyment. Gosh, and the another thing that's really coming up that's very important is this thing of I want to create cultures that are out of the classic PM underworld that I myself have experienced, where it's sort of this do you know this thing of the Emperor's New Clothes?
No.
Okay, it's like a children's story, at least in the United States, about this clothes maker who makes invisible clothes for the king to wear. And the
The fairy
king
tale.
wears them and is like, what is this? And the clothes maker just says, no, it looks great. You can't see it. You can't see that a beautiful clothes I just made you. And the king is too insecure And so he starts to pretend, okay, wow, I'm wearing this beautiful thing. And then other people see him naked and they're like, what? You're not wearing anything. And the king says, oh, you can't see the beautiful thing I'm wearing. And then so everyone's just, okay. And they all pretend that they can see this beautiful clothes and they're all just naked. Uh, and I fall into this and I want to create a culture where there's the permission to say, I don't get it. I really don't get whatever this thing is, this distinction. I have no clue. I have no clue about it. And I really want, a culture where we can reveal our X on the map and really have this conversation of like, okay, so you're using this distinction. What does it really mean to you? Are you really doing it from your center? But that I got away from the question. What is my fear about it? Yeah,
Yes.
my fear is to look foolish. My fears,
Mm.
my fears is to lose status, is to lose, is to destroy the hierarchy of like, okay, I've matrix, whatever, and or is to lose any way to be superior. My fear is my fear is people will think I'm an idiot. My fear is that maybe I am an idiot. My fear is my fear is my fear is to lose this survival, this deep survival of being special. Uh
Because
because if I'm not special, I'm meaningless. I'm
Mm.
useless.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really the like um it's really the whole box freaks out. My whole box freaks out. And it's really the ultimate death to not be special at all.
you're afraid to not be special.
Yeah. And I think it's just a mimetic construct. I don't know what is under there. I think that's just it, is I have to be special. Yeah, my fear is I lose my position in the world. If I really slow down to create this culture, I lose my position. I'm not going as fast as I can. I'm not uh that maybe I have to slow down to make time for people who are not as smart as me or as capable or whatever. And then I lose my position.
If you slow down to make space you lose your position.
Yeah, my position in the world.
Because
uh because if I'm not spending time going forward, then other people are getting ahead of me, like in some kind of rat race, but for growth, for transformation even. So if I slow down to really reveal, okay, I don't know about this distinction, and if I slow down to be with somebody who doesn't know about this distinction, it's like, well, you're just not okay, so you haven't built that much matrix, you haven't transformed very much, this kind of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I want to ask you, how can you meet that edge?
I think even going through with this bridge house project, it's like I have this freak out, this low level freak out that says you should be doing a bigger project than this. You should be it's just a temporary bridge house, whatever. That's not in terms of game world building, that's not so hard. It's not such a big game world to build. Why aren't you building? You're wasting your time not building a huge game world. Yeah, like a permanent bridge house, a permanent initiation center. And yeah, so there's some kind of edge for me in slowing down and then actually just being and taking in the whole experience, and the richness that we're creating. Does that make sense? Does that land?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. I think we have a minute.
You're not
15
going, Maria?
seconds until 15 minutes after.
Until 15 minutes after. I will read what I wrote. The culture I want to live it in. I relate from my adult to your adult, and I'm radically responsible for everything I have, am, and will create. I want to live in a culture where stories are stories, and there is no time or safety. I'm committed to your growth and to sourcing the value necessary for evolution. I want to live in a culture where children don't make children, and where we're responsible for Gaia, meaning all life on Earth, and our energy is dedicated to regenerating him, her, they. And I want to live in a culture where life cannot be owned, and where we're committed to each other's growth, meaning connecting each other to the pain and the pleasure of what we're creating, so that the purpose becomes conscious and alive. And I think the time is over.
Thank you. Do you want me to close the breakout rooms?
Yes, please.
Thing.
Welcome back. Will you share the goal of what you discovered in those spaces?
I didn't realize how important it is to me, this thing of not being in a space of people hiding what doesn't work for them, or what hasn't landed for them. So I had this thing about the emperor's new clothes, and not wanting people to pretend they can see or have a distinction, and really having a culture of, yeah, where it's just, wow, I don't get that. This doesn't work for me. And have people really examine their exes, and whether they're delivering something from having given up their center because they saw somebody else deliver or live this way. Yeah, it's so clear to me now that I really just want teams, I want communities, I want context where there's not this blind adherence to something, but people's real being of like, okay, this is what I know, and okay, so I'm like kind of groping around in the dark room, but this is where I am, and that's it.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm noticing right now for myself, I'm just feeling so much fear, like that my goal isn't enough. My goal isn't big enough. I don't really know how this will go. And that's my big fear of currently of living this way now is this well, I don't know, I'm not good enough. And I think that's really what's holding me back from doing this right in the now. And so I'll go with my gold. But this piece of fun and aliveness and finding that aliveness with being with other people's aliveness is so important for me. And like, yeah, really sourcing the fun, this like archetypal fun in the space that's not coming from these like little gremlin jokes that, I'm so easily fall into. And yeah, and truly witnessing each other's aliveness beyond all of, yeah, coming from each other's beings is something that's really important to me.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Meredith.
I realized that I'm still so trained from modern culture to defend my values, to have logical arguments. So, so Dawei was navigating me there with his questions. I also got in the lab with speaking about our culture and go the levels down and down and down. And for me, it feels like that I almost can't speak. So there, I miss words. And when I say words, I get the feedback, this from your mind, this from your mind. And I think that is true. And it's like that there is so much passion and there's so much fear to, I don't know, to just let it flow. And it might maybe not make sense what I say, but it seems it also doesn't make sense to speak from the mind. So I'm still exploring how I can have this access to transport this value, to transport my passion, to transport what I want. And I got this experiment from Maria to explore with my 5 bodies towards that.
Thank you, Dorothea.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My goal is that doing the breakout rooms, being there and hearing just in a way myself from Meredith and from Devin, and really having this experience of it's not necessarily the same for each of us, and yet I'm not alone in what I want and how scared I am. And that there's already so much experience behind each of us as we take each next step toward converging, that yeah, there's like this, like, it's already working. And like, if it's already working on Thursday, July 6th, then, next week and next month and then in September and ongoing, it's like, wow, okay, I think that I and each of you know what to look out for and have had practice to be on other people's teams. And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, keep going. Like, that's the goal that I got, is, yeah, let's keep going.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
I noticed for me, part of my goal was so mostly I wrote about a culture of learning and culture of learning and practice and what that could look like. And especially that the learning be a joyful rather than a brutal or abusive or something experience. And my fear about that is that and my fear about other things I wrote is it's mostly about my own incompetence, about that I will not be able to source the things that I'm wanting in a culture. And just Meredith asked me a question I'm taking with me about this, is what it's like about the stance of the culture on getting it wrong or on messing things up or making mistakes. And I don't have an answer in my head yet, but I can kind of feel one in other bodies of a kind of a glow that could happen when there's mistakes or when wrong turns, whatever wrong means, happen.
Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The goal that I found, I didn't get to go through the fear, and I am in fear now because I'm space holding. And what I noticed in this is that part of what I wrote is about creating a culture where there's no safety, there's no time, and there's no safety. And I noticed myself that it's like I'm constantly hooked with in this fear of wanting to be safe, and that keeps me from being here with you. Like I want to be safe and do this right, whatever this is, and that keeps me from being present. This wanting to be safe for the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maria.
Maria.
Thank you.
Before we end the call, I want to say there's a way to formally apply to join the Bridge House on the website. It's a pretty simple way to apply. And I just want to make sure everyone knows about that. I think it's probably just a button at the top that says join, or somewhere on the page it says click here to click here to join or something. And then there's a little form just to make sure you've attended a possibility lab and some other things. And I want to check in on, yeah, this kind of logistics. We talked a couple of weeks ago about some blockers, like about healthcare and things like that. And I just want to know, like, I want to ask anybody that has a thing that is keeping them from really committing. What are you doing about it? If there needs to be a proposal made, or questions asked, or preparations, I ask, will you check what would need to be done, and let the team know.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for asking. Okay. I want to ask if you have any feedback about space holding this call, please share it with me.
Right now or in
No.
the future?
No,
Okay.
in the future, because the call time is over now.
Yeah. Thank you for holding this space, Maria, and everybody for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Maria, for space holding today.
Who will be the next space holder? Nicole.
Yay.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
I'll see you in the Telegram group about that.
Cool.
Meredith and I are pretty offline. Next Friday is probably the main day that works for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Noted.
All right.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye,
Bye for now.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.